Hi, all the Facebook fans and all the folks catching this on YouTube. This is Fridays with Sandy, and we've got a very exciting question this week. The question is, what does it take for a consultant to get into Harvard Business School, particularly a consultant who doesn't work for the three popular feeder firms, McKinsey, BCG, and Bain. And we've got a wonderful test case here, Ronald Fu, who works at Deloitte, which is a consulting firm. He works in their strategy and operations. And just to set the stage, Ronald has a 3.9 from Rice and a 7.10 GMAT. So the question is, gee, can this guy get into Harvard Business School or Columbia, which is his second choice? So where does a guy like this go? Ronald, introduce yourself. How are you?
Hi, all right, sounds good.
Yeah,
Hey, so I'm here to introduce myself. I graduated from Rice University, what many would consider a top 15, top 20 Southern Ivy, where I majored in the liberal arts and social sciences. Ultimately, did an interdisciplinary curriculum, ultimately majoring in cognitive sciences. Thereafter, I kickstarted my career as a consultant at Deloitte Consulting. My project experiences run the gamut of both in terms of types of project experiences as well.
We'll get into that. I've read your resume, or I've attempted
Okay, sounds good.
Let me ask you a question to kick things off. Where do people from Deloitte Consulting, where did they apply to business school last year, and what were the outcomes? We get down to brass tacks here, buddy.
Right. No, we definitely, I do know a lot of my peers and my fellow colleagues. They definitely applied to a bunch of different schools. And in terms of acceptance rates, most of them, we see a lot of success in, say, Darden, Duke, Kellogg. We also have that there obviously is a sizable presence in, the M7s as well, the other M7s from MIT.
Yeah, we've got a really antsy audience. They just want to know how many people got into Harvard, Stanford, and Wharton.
That, unfortunately, I do not have the numbers.
Do you recall anybody?
Yes.
Like how many?
So what I can tell you is in terms of percentages, right? And when you compare the percentage of Deloitte consultants.
Let me do the question here. Do you know those people?
I do not.
Know some of them?
No.
So you can't tell me who was the person who got into Harvard or who got into Wharton?
No.
What their gender was or what their background was?
Well, in terms of background, consulting background, right? In terms of gender, that's a good mix.
Well, you see, what people at home really want to know is they're doing a kind of, I hope I'm using this term correctly, a regression analysis.
Right.
Where they say, gee, I work for Deloitte, that person works for Deloitte, that person got into Wharton or that person got into HBS. How do I stack up against that person in terms of obvious things like GPA, GMAT, other things, recommendations, things like that? So you got.
Unfortunately, I do not have that level of granularity for you.
Okay. All right. Well, let's just, if you don't mind, then we'll talk about someone you do know about. You.
Okay.
Okay. We got a 3.9 here from Rice. Wow, that's good. 7.10 GMAT. How many times did you take that?
This is my second time. Time I got a 7.10.
Ask me a hard question. Should I take it again?
That's a question I want to ask you. Should I take it again?
Do you think you could do better?
Perhaps.
Did it go up a lot from the first time?
30 points.
Well, let me tell you right off the bat, taking it a second time was good. I am of the belief, and no admissions officer will admit this, that there's a real difference between a 7.30 and a 7.10. There's the famous D. Leopold mantra. D. Leopold was the longtime director of admissions at Harvard Business School. and I love her dearly. She used to say, "We don't care about your GMAT as long as it has a 7 in front of it." I don't believe her. I think, based on my own experience, there's a real difference, particularly at schools like Columbia, which is one of your target schools.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to know the number of people at Columbia who apply with a 730, the number of the people who apply with a 710, and what the admit rates are. You know what I'm driving at here?
Right.
Yeah, you're a smart guy. You know what I'm driving at. I think the admit rate is a lot higher for the 730s.
Mm-hmm.
Columbia is known to be, well, Columbia is a school that pays a lot of attention to the GMAT. They're very concerned about those magazine rankings. The GMAT is a very strong part of that. I don't easily say this, but man, you could make a case for taking it again. Also, another thing that people don't realize is GMAT score, it often helps you with a financial aid package. Mm-hmm. Particularly, obviously not the no need. You know, there's schools that say we only judge financial aid on need, but there's a lot of financial aid that is based on merit, where the school says, yeah, we really love you and we'd like you to come here and we're willing to pay for you to come here. Nobody loves anybody with a 710, particularly since you're basically, you know, you're a, I don't know how to say this. There's a group, there's URM, underrepresented minorities. You're not one of them, okay? So you're non-URM. Mm-hmm. That means there's a lot of people like you applying. Males, non-URMs. So you're facing a lot of competition. So we got a lot to talk about, but just to get this off on a tough love footing, you could make a real case for taking that again. And other people out there. If people want to write in, you know, under this, in the comments section and say, hey, Sandy, you're a fearmonger, or hey, Sandy, you're crazy, or hey, Sandy, you're absolutely right. I had a friend who had a 710 and got a better score and reapplied and did much better. Please do. I'd like to open a kind of conversation on that line. Okay. Let me tell you about your resume. Whew. Here's the way you've done your resume is you've identified that you're a consultant in their strategy and operations division. That's great. That's kind of an elite part over there at Deloitte, right?
I don't like to make a comparison, but
yeah, you don't have to answer that.
Industry-wise.
Yeah, okay. You've divided this into like 5, you work into 5 parts. The first one is in italics, driving global business competitiveness through enterprise-wide transformation. What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Yeah.
So I could, in summary, it's just being able to identify areas of opportunities to help our clients have a better positioning or better strategy or capability for the future. And so in that case, you were driving that sort of global competitiveness.
Well, here's an example you gave. Distill financial and operational analyses to develop 5 business cases evaluating $100 million savings for a global business services objective of a Fortune 500 life science company. Let me break this down. Mm-hmm. You were a consultant. Your client was a life science company. That's what I got out of this. Distill financial and operation analysis to develop 5 business cases evaluating $100 million saving. What does that mean?
Going through the analytics to identify opportunities for.
When you go through the analytics, what does that mean?
It runs a gamut from looking at, huge data sets, whether it's HR data sets, whether it's operations data set or activities data sets, and being able to amalgamate them, distill results and insights to see where the areas that we could help save money.
You mean mostly what they call right sizing?
Sure, if you like to call it that way.
Folks out there, right sizing is what consultants call firing people. No offense. We're all friends here, okay? You just got to be able to describe this both in an interview, like a Columbia interview would ask you this. You got to be able to describe this in a no-nonsense way.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I would personally, if you were applying next year, you could make a case for redoing your resume, although allow me to say, people get in to Harvard and Columbia with resumes just like yours, but it helps. You've got to be able to bang out in no-nonsense terms what you do. Like, let's say this is a mock interview at Columbia, and the interviewer says, "Oh, you work at Deloitte Consulting Strategy and Operations. What's the value you guys offer? What do you do? I've read your resume here, and to be honest, I can't understand it."
Okay.
Your turn to talk. What's the answer?
Sorry, I didn't get the earlier question.
Oh, the question is, I read your resume here. Mm-hmm. Boy, it sounds great, but I don't really understand it. What do you guys do?
It honestly runs the gamut of what we do, right? As a huge consulting firm with multiple different competencies and portfolios and services that we provide to our clients.
Okay, let me give you some overview. You're going to flunk the interview if you talk like that. You're talking like you're trying to hide information.
Okay.
The answer is, we do a lot of things. We work for instance, we work for life science companies and other large companies, and we help them right-size the workforce. We help them find savings in areas like this and this. I recently worked with a company where we suggested they close the line of business. Is what I said accurate?
That's not what I did.
But along those lines.
Sure. Okay. I mean, if in terms of how succinct and straightforward the sentence is, right? Okay, the narrative.
And informative.
Right. That makes sense.
Let me give you some. I'm trying to help you.
Okay? Right.
You gotta talk like me in your own way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What is a more accurate version of what you do?
What is more accurate? I would like to say that the work that I've done involves me playing a critical role in collaborating with the clients to translate their strategic objectives.
That's all nothing. That's just nothing.
So that's too high level.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm serious here, man. You're steeped in this stuff. You're like a fish who doesn't know he's in water.
Right.
You're living and breathing this stuff, but what a business school wants you to be able to do in the interview and in the essay and on your resume is just explain project engagements you've worked on. I realize there's this confidentiality problem. They're aware of that. You don't have to name the client. You know, a leading life science company is fine. Tell me what you did on that engagement.
I did a global activity assessment to identify areas and work processes that can be improved either through consolidation.
Like what? And what was your recommendation?
The recommendation was to do both a process redesign of the activities and the workflows to help save money through automation, through consolidation.
Okay, automation is a real term. Consolidation is a real term. The rest of the stuff you're saying is just jargon. Look, what people call us in, they want us to look at their company. We typically look at their processes, their hiring, their payroll. Some of our advice often involves automation or consolidation. Is that what you said?
Right.
What else do you what's a typical Deloitte report card after you're like a doctor, okay? The company comes in for a physical, and then the doctor says, gee, you should lower your cholesterol, you should exercise more, you got a wart on your toe that really should be removed, it's only a one-day operation, and you should lose 15 pounds, okay? Can you answer that question that way?
Right. So in this context here, our company, or our client, the client that we work for, what we recommended was to move a big portion of their work to shared services and global business services, global business centers in the regional aspect, in cheaper regional locations. At the same time, it also involves.
One thing we did was we advised them to move labor-intense operations to areas where there's cheaper labor.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
You're not advertising Deloitte on television. Okay. So I understand your reluctance to state in a direct way what the company does. You're talking to a guy from a business school. He knows what consulting company does. Okay. Mm-hmm. He knows the game. You don't have to sugarcoat it for him or her. What he or she is searching for, what the admissions officer is searching for, is your ability to state it in a clear and accurate way. So that's what I'm, I don't want to say beating you up about, but that's what I'm stressing here, okay?
Right.
Get it?
That makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so the other thing you have here is leading synergy capture through cross-functional operating model restructuring. Let me read that. Leading synergy capture through cross-functional operating model restructuring. I'm reading from your resume, Jack. Mm-hmm. If you don't get it, I don't blame you. This is the second italicized block group on your resume. What does that mean? Leading synergy capture through cross-functional operating model restructuring. So tell me what that means, or give me an example of that.
Sure. So for example, if you look at the different types of operating models or business models, some companies have an holding company model. Some companies have an integrated model. In our situation, what we wanted to do was to move towards a holding company model where you are consolidating a lot of the, say, HR, finance work that can be done across different global business units. So in that case here, when you do so, when you consolidate people, capabilities, you are in some sense saving and generating that sort of.
Sure. So what you do is you analyze operating models and often suggest either restructuring, blank or blank. These things, right. You need the three things. So you analyze operating models and often suggest restructuring, blank or blank. Can you fill in the blanks?
Sorry. So you're saying you want me to pass out the restructuring piece into.
What else? Well, you suggest restructure. You suggest consolidation. What else do you suggest?
We suggested consolidation. We suggested, building up different verticals to support initiatives.
Consolidation, expansion, or that's what you just said.
Right. Consolidation, expansion, capabilities, building up capabilities, right? Establishing new capabilities.
Or new organizational capabilities, sure.
Right.
So that's the way that should read.
Okay.
If I were you, I'd go through your whole resume and work it that way. And I would talk about the examples you give in a much more down-to-earth way, where you try and tell the reader just what you did. You're just in love with these words like curated, synergy capture, enterprise-wide transformation, driving global business competitiveness. Just tell us what you do, okay? this is not, the resume for business school is being read by people who are insiders, okay? They're not your relatives that you're showing off at Thanksgiving or something, okay?
Right.
They know the score. Okay, let's talk. So it sounds like you've had a pretty good career at Deloitte. Is there any evidence on your resume or in your life about what distinguishes your career at Deloitte from a regular Deloitte career? Like, have you been promoted sooner?
No.
See, real important. If you're applying from a big consulting company, business schools, they won't admit this, but they'll be comparing you kind of to other people from similar companies.
Okay.
Is there any earmark that you could find, or did you get an award?
Right, I did.
What is it?
Projects that I've done.
Yeah.
I unfortunately did not incorporate that in my resume, if that's what you're gonna ask next.
Yeah, no, well, that's okay. It's not spilt milk yet.
Yeah.
We're not going to cry about milk that didn't get spilt. I would do that.
Okay. Point taken. Yeah.
Yeah, and I try and make it as real as possible. What were you waiting for? Did you think it wasn't important enough?
Yes and no. It's not so much it's not important, but I thought it was better in my resume to really flesh out what I have done and in what ways I could do it. For example, building business cases or financial models, right? The analytics piece of it, being able to facilitate and lead discussions and workshops, right? I'm working on the communication piece, executive presence, right? So that was the way that I did my resume. And so, I think this is great feedback to learn that maybe I'm putting in too much of the consulting terms and to really just put them into.
Yeah, the substance of your resume is okay. I just can't understand it. It sounds like you engaged in this. What you attempted to do was 7 engagements. You tried to capture 7 engagements. You did a lousy job of it. I don't understand what the engagements were, and I certainly don't understand what distinguished your input during those engagements.
Okay.
So I would focus on that. Who could you get to write your, let's turn to another area like recommendations.
Sure.
Who could you get to write your recommendations?
The managers and senior managers that I work under, as well as the partners that I work with.
Well, usually there's 2, and the business schools expect your direct supervisor.
Right.
Okay, so that's a possible. You could have your direct supervisor write a recommendation.
Right.
Who else?
So I was thinking I would have a direct supervisor write one of my recommendations, and another would be a direct supervisor for my extracurriculars. So one for client work and one for extracurriculars. What do you think about that?
That's a dilemma people often have. Here's the answer. It depends. It depends on how different the 2 professional writers could be. And it depends how strong your extras are. So let's hold that off and go to a new area. Tell me what you think. Pitch me in 60 seconds what's powerful about you, just in addition to your engagement work. What else is there?
In addition to my engagement work, I translate a lot of my passions into real tangible actions. I am a queer person of color, and that's why I'm involved in diversity-related initiatives at Deloitte, both in the local office level as well as at the national level. I'm interested in social impact. Growing up in multiple different countries, I'm interested in being able to help people and help the community, and that's what I did with starting up Inspire and building the community for that, for a volunteer-based organization.
Okay, tell me, okay, you've got two powerful things here. I agree with you. The Deloitte National Diversity and Inclusion Campus Recruiting established a Deloitte recruiting blueprint that identifies and supports underrepresented minorities, women, LGBTQ candidates. Okay, so what, tell me about what you did, how you did that, and what the impact has been.
Sure. So initially, at least, initially with regard to RISE recruiting, RISE on-campus undergraduate recruiting, there wasn't an established pipeline in terms of identifying, supporting, and obviously closing, giving out offers to high-performing candidates for diverse candidates in particular. What I did was to be able to work together.
Before you came along.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Good. So that sounds like it's hard to improve. What did you add to that?
So what I did was to really work together with not only with the national diversity team at Deloitte to help better understand goals and better understand best practices, but also take it a step further and working together with multicultural clubs, alumni, students themselves at RISE to better understand what do they want, in terms of getting support from corporate companies to.
Wow, that's great. So what did you find out?
So what I found out is they wanted a more established pipeline. They wanted more corporate presence. They wanted more formalized support, whether it's through events or whether it's through mentorship. And that was what I did, right? I came up with an approach that focused on building up an inaugural event solely for diverse candidates to then support pieces of the mentorship by pairing consultants together with high-performing diverse candidates.
Yeah, okay, this is kind of on your resume.
Yeah.
It's a little hard to understand. I would say initiated meetings with diversity groups on campus, initiated over X number of meetings with diversity groups to find out how Deloitte could be more effective in reaching them. That would be the headline.
Okay.
And then I would say 1, 2, 3. Met with this group, did that. Met with that group, did that. I think that would just be more effective.
Sure.
Oh, you like that one, huh? Okay, what's Inspire Inc.?
So Inspire is a nonprofit organization that pulls volunteers from different consulting firms, such as Bain, LAK, Deloitte, and EY Parthenon. Each of the different offices in different cities would start Inspire chapters, and Inspire chapters are run by pre-MBA consultants. So pre-MBA consultants like myself would be the point person to find a client, to scope the project for the client.
Are there any metrics for that?
Sorry, what kind of metrics are you looking for?
Number of people, number of meetings, number of members, annual revenue, metrics.
There's no revenue involved since it's non-profit, but right.
Well, the revenue of a non-profit could be a very important statistic.
Right, so it could be number of cases, number of cases.
I'm not going to I'm not going to be hard on you. Metrics really help.
Right.
If anyone else told you that, you go, yeah, man, I'm in the business. Yeah, I know that. But yet here you list something, there's no metrics. So you would know easily once the question is presented to you. You go, oh yeah, I should put this, and these are the important metrics. Okay. I want to make a small point. The Deloitte National Diversity part, is that part of your gig at Deloitte?
Yeah, it's what I do outside of client work.
Yeah, you could make a case for putting that under Deloitte.
Okay.
And you see this leadership bar that on your resume, if you know what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. That doesn't help. I would just put the national diversity thing under the Deloitte thing, and then I would put what do they call it? Social enterprise as the next heading.
Okay.
And under social enterprise, I would put founded, inspire, pro bono consulting, etc. You get that? It's
Yeah.
just a different possible organization. Okay, good. What are you thinking about writing about for, let's say, the Columbia application? I think the question is similar to Harvard's, isn't it? It's just like, what are your goals? What do you want to do and why you want to go to Columbia? So why Columbia part, let's leave that out. But what are you thinking of writing for? Like, what are your goals and what supports that?
So goals in terms of, I'm assuming you're referring to the short and long-term goals after graduation. Short-term goal, I would love to return back to Deloitte to be a leader in the customer and global business strategy practice. That's one, short-term. In terms of long-term goal, I want to be able to leverage my consulting acumen and my consulting experiences to help companies, to help start new companies that are going to disrupt the industries that they are currently in.
Okay, have you ever done any of that?
I have not, but I've done student entrepreneurship at Rice. So, no, I do think a lot of the things that I've done.
Disruption is one of those words that, you know, everybody's a disruptor now. You know, it's just out there. It was an important concept, and now it's not. You don't cut a lot of mustard with saying I want to be a disruptor. You'd be better off saying, and this is true for everybody, based on my experiences doing A, B, and C, I'd like to build out those experiences and be someone who can do D, E, and F. And then you just expand stuff you've done, and that's the way I would present your goals. It just sounds more based on what you've done, more logical, and less cliched.
Okay.
So that's the way I would describe it.
Sounds good.
Are you going to get into Harvard? Do you want me to answer that?
I kind of have a sense. I kind of have an inkling of what you're going to say.
The 3.9 from Rice is out of this world. It sounds like you've had a, well, let me put it this way. Here is how you get it. Here is how I would advise you. Here's what I would tell you to do to get into Harvard, okay? I would really get bang up recommendations from the Deloitte guy, maybe both Deloitte guys, if there are two of them. What they have to say is, this guy is really, they have to say things like, I've been at Deloitte for 15 years. I've worked with 40 people like Ronald. Ronald is one of the top 3 people out of those 40. And these are the reasons. And those reasons have to be really effective. So the first question you ask yourself is, okay, can I get recommendations like that? That would be the one thing you can do, since the recommendations, you know, have not yet been written. Man, it pains me to say this, I'd retake the GMAT. I'd really try and get a 730.
Okay.
It's only painful for a month, you know, preparing for it and taking it, but it could really make a difference. At Columbia, the GMAT score for you could really make a difference. They got a lot of guys like you. Harvard might take you, if you could make a big deal of this, inspire pro bono consulting and other things you've done. Harvard's going to be real hard. But with a 3.9 and a 730 GMAT and a BOFO recommendation, that I would call it a reach. I would call your current situation a long reach. Okay, here's another tip. For Columbia, they want you to show them the love. So I would go visit. I would indicate to them that they're your first choice, et cetera, et cetera. Have you visited? Have you taken the tour there and stuff like that?
Yep, I visited, talked to alums.
Yeah, okay. Keep working that angle. See if you can become friendly with those alums, ask them for advice. Do you know what I mean?
Yep.
That's almost GMAT too. That's almost another GMAT. It's called the social mat there.
Mhm. Yeah.
How well you can work that third aisle, okay? So I think that's your story, okay? Our producer is telling us time for a commercial break here. So thanks. I hope I haven't been too crushing, Ronald, but I've been trying to offer you honest and friendly advice.
Yeah, no, and I think it's much appreciated. I think that's why I'm happy to have this
That's why
conversation.
you're here, yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, we're gonna sign off now. Good to see you, Ronald. Good luck. If you want a mock interview, let me know. Like for HBS, that'll be fun. Okay?
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. Adios.
Bye.